Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we move on to the next chapter of our curriculum, which is irregular verbs, and it's a subgroup of muta'alun called Ajwafun. So if you remember, the muta'alun is when one of the root letters is a wa or ya. Ajwafun is a subgroup of muta'alun. So this is when the second root letter is wa or ya. So when the second root letter is wa, then it's Ajwafun wa. When the second root letter is ya, is called Ajwafun ya. So big families, the vowel causes changes only in the following families. So family 4, which is afala yufilu, family 10 istafala yastafilu. They both behave in the same way. And the families 7 is affected, infa'ala yanfa'ilu, and the family number 8 ifta'ala yafta'ilu. So both behave in the same way. So if you look at families 4, that's afala yufilu, and family 10 istafala yastafilu, and the rules apply to both. So the past tense, the vowel is replaced with alif. The present tense, the vowel is replaced with ya, and the masdar, ta, is added to it. And if the fi'l is in lightest form and has dhamma at the end, and has dhamma at the end, including commanding of hidden forms, the vowel is removed. So we can explain that by showing an example of family 4, afala yufilu, and we will actually use the 3 root letters, and the second root letter is made a waw, so it's a wa or a ya. So the first letter will be fa, first root letter will be fa, the second root letter is either waw or ya, doesn't matter, and the third root letter is lam. So the past tense is afala, afala. The present tense is yufilu. So you can see that in the present tense, or in the past tense, the yellow highlighted. So the vowel changed into an alif, which attaches to the fa, so it's afala. And the present tense, the yufilu. So you can see again the second root letter, which is a wa or a ya, it becomes a ya with a sukoon, so yufilu. And the masdar, ifalatan. So you can see in the black highlighted, the ta mabuta is added to the end. And the ism fa'il is a du'a is mufilun, so it's similar to the present tense. So you just change the ya to a meme and make it heavy because ism fa'il is an ism. And the passive past tense is ufila. And you can see that from the past tense, the yellow highlighted alif has become a ya with a sukoon in order to stretch the fa, so ufila. And the passive present tense is yufalu. And again, because of the present tense having a ya with a sukoon, that's converted into an alif to show the stretch, yufalu, and all the harakat at the top, which is typical for a passive present tense. And the masdar ifalatan, and the ism maf'ul is a thing that's acted on, is mufalun. Again, there's a connection between the passive present and the ism maf'ul. The ya is changed to a meme, and the lam, the dhamma becomes a dhammatain because ism is a ism maf'ul is an ism, so you make it heavy. And the command is afil. So if we take a look at the present tense, is yufilu. So we'll first take the anta version, which is you masculine. It becomes tufilu. Then if we make it a lightest form, so we'll make the lam at the end, the dhamma on it, into a sukoon. But then the issue is that we have 2 letters in a row with sukoon on it. So the ya has a sukoon, and now the lam has a sukoon. So the ya gets dropped, so it becomes tafil. And then we will drop the ta as per usual. But because this is family 4, if you remember when we make commanding form, we don't just add an alif, we always add the hamza to it. So it becomes a hamza with a fatha, so it becomes afil. So commanding form is afil. And the forbidding form is la tufil. So meaning, if we look at the present tense, which is ufilu, we take the anta version, tufilu, we make it into the lightest, so the lam with the dhamma becomes sukoon. And then again we have the problem with 2 letters at the end with both have sukoon, so we drop the ya, so it becomes tufil, and then we put a lam in front of it, becomes la tufil, which is a forbidding form. And the zarf is the same as ism maf'ul, mufalun. And this is the characteristics we discussed as we went along. And then we'll give you an example of family 4, afala, but this time we're using 3 root letters, ra, and the second root letter is the vowel, which is wa, and the third root letter is dal. This means to intend. So the past tense will be arada. So you can see how the second root letter wow has been changed into an alif, arada. And in the present tense is yuridu. So the second root letter wow has been changed into a ya with a sukun, yuridu. He intends. And then masdar iradatan. So the ta marbuta fatatain has been added at the end to intend. And ism fa'il is the dua muridun, the one who is intending. So from the present tense to the ism fa'il, just change the ya to a meme and make it heavy because the ism fa'il is an ism. And the passive past tense is urida, so the u and e sound. And the passive present tense is yuradu, so it is being intended, so all the harakata at the top. And the masdar is iradatan, which is to intend. And the ism maf'ul is a thing that's acted on, so the thing which is intended is muradun. So it's similar to the passive present, you just change the ya into a meme and make it heavy because ism maf'ul is an ism. And the commanding form is arid, so you male intend. So as per usual, the commanding form and the forbidding form in these charts is the anta, you masculine version. So arid, you male intend. So if you look at the present tense, take the anta version, will be turidu. Then make it lighter, so the dal, the dhamma on the dal becomes a sukoon, so it becomes turid. So we got 2 letters that have sukoon at the end, the ya and the dal. So we drop the ya, make turid. Then we drop the ta, but because this is family 4, then we add the hamza with a fatha, so it becomes arid. You male intend. So forbidding form is la turid, so meaning take the anta version of yuridu, so turidu, make it lightest. So dal, the dal dhamma becomes, takes a sukoon, so it's turid. Then because there's 2 letters in a row with sukoon, drop the ya, so it becomes turid. And then add the lam in front, so it becomes la turid. You male don't intend. And the zarf, the time and place of intending, is the same as the ism maf'ul muradun, which is typical of the big families. So if we take a look at an example for family 10, so istafala family. So again, the second root letter is made a waw or a ya. So the first root letter is fa, the second root letter can be wa or ya, and the third root letter is lam in this example. So the past tense istafala. So you can see the second root letter wa or ya has been turned into an alif, the yellow highlight. Present tense fail yastafilu. And you can see again the blue highlight, the second root letter wa or ya has been turned into a ya with a sukoon, yastafilu. And the masdar istifalatan, so you can see the ta marbuta with the fatatain is added at the end with the black highlight. And then ism fa'il, the dua is mustafilun. So again, switching between present tense, ism fa'il, change the ya to a meme, add the dhamma to it, and then make it heavy because the ism fa'il is an ism. So passive past tense is ustufila, so it makes the u and the e sound. And the passive present tense is yustafalu, yustafalu, so all the harakata at the top. And the masdar is istifalatan, and the ism maf'ul is the thing that's acted on, is mustafalun. So again, the connection between the passive present ism maf'ul. So it's just a quick trick to switch between the two. So change the ya to a meme and make it heavy, the lam at the end. And commanding form is istafil. So if we take the present tense, is yastafilu. So if we take the anta version, it'll be tastafilu. And then if we make it into the lightest form, the dhamma on the lam becomes a sukoon. But then we have 2 last letters that both have sukoon on them, so the ya and the lam. So therefore we will drop the ya, and then the tastafil, and then drop the ta at the start. And then because the new first letter has a sukoon on it, the sin, so the word can't start with a sukoon, so we have to add an alif. Then we look at the second to last letter, look at the fa, which has a kasra on it. So second to last letter is the ya with a sukoon, but when we dropped it, the fa is the second to last letter then. And then we take that into consideration in respect to what to put on the alif, the new alif. So it will be a kasra, so it becomes istafil. So that's the commanding form, and the forbidding form is la tastafil. So again, present tense yastafilu, take the anta version tastafilu, make it lightest, the dhamma on the lam becomes a sukoon, then you have two sukoons in a row, drop the ya, tastafil, and then put the lam in front of it, la tastafil. And the zarf is the place and time of doing the action, and it's like the ism maf'ul, mustafalun. And these are characteristics that we discussed as we went through. The example for family 10, so istafala, but this time we'll use three different root letters. So we'll use the jim, and the wa is in the middle, the second root letter, and the ba is the third root letter, which means to respond. So past tense is istajaba. You can see that the second root letter wa has been turned into an alif. He responded. The present tense yastajibu. The second root letter wa has been turned into a ya sukoon. Ya with the sukoon, yastajibu, he's responding. Mastar istijabatan. So you see the ta marbuta at the end, which has been added. Istijabatan, to respond, and ism fa'il mustajibun, the one who is responding. The passive past tense is ustujiba. The u and the e sound, he was responded to, and the passive present tense yustajabu. So you can see all the harakat at the top, as per usual with the passive present. He is being responded to, and istijabatan again for the mastar, and the ism maf'ul, the one who is responded to, is mustajabun. And the commanding form is istajib, so you may all respond. So if you look at the present tense, yastajibu, take the yanta version, tastajibu, make it lightest, the dhamma on the bar becomes a sukoon. Then we have two sukoons in a row at the end, the ya and the ba. Drop the ya, so tastajib. Drop the da. The new first letter seen has a sukoon on it, so we need to add an alif. Then we look at the new second to last letter, which is the jim with the kasra. Then we add a kasra on the alif because of that. So remember, if the second to last letter has a kasra or fatha, then the new alif gets a kasra. If it has a dhamma, the second to last letter, then the new alif that we add gets a dhamma. So istajib, you may respond, and forbidding form la tastajib. So again, yastajibu, take the anta version, tastajibu, make it lightest. The ba gets a sukoon, two sukoons in a row, drop the ya, then tastajib, then add the la in front, la tastajib, you may or don't respond. And the zarf is mustajabun, the same, the time and place of responding the same as the ism maf'ul. Again, bear in mind, as we mentioned in other cases as well, that when the ism maf'ul and the zarf, because they're the same, in order to determine which one it is in the sentence, you have to look at context, the meaning, then you can figure out if the ism maf'ul is being mentioned or whether it's the zarf. So families 7 and 8 now we look at. So if you remember the rules, we'll just go over them again. So the family 7, in fa'ala yanfa'ilu, and the family 8, if ta'ala yafta'ilu. So the rules were that the past and present forms, the vowel is replaced with an alif. The mastar, the vowel is replaced with a ya. And if again the fi'l is in lightest form and it has dhamma at the end, including commanding or forbidding form, the vowel is removed. So example for family 7, in fa'ala yanfa'ilu. So again we'll use we'll replace the second root letter with a wa or ya. So the first root letter is fa. The second root letter will be wa or ya, it doesn't matter, and the third root letter is lam. So the past tense is in fa'ala, so you can see yellow highlighted. The second root letter wa or ya has been replaced with a alif. Present tense yanfalu, again the second root letter wa or ya is still replaced by an alif. And the mastar is in fiyalan, so you can see that the second root letter is whether it's wa or ya, it becomes ya in the mastar, in fiyalan. And the ism fa'il, the dua is munfalun. So you can see a quick switch between the present tense to the ism fa'il. Just change a ya into a meme with a dhamma, and then make it heavy because the ism fa'il is an ism. And if you remember with family 7, it's a lazim family, so it has no passive forms. Then if you go to the commanding form line, is in fal is the command. And if you look at the present tense, is yan falu. So we'll take the anta version, tan falu, then we'll make it lightest. So we change the lam, the dhamma on the lam to sukoon, then it becomes tan fal. And because of that stretch, that second root letter, which is in the present tense is turned into an alif, then we drop that, it becomes tan fal. and then we drop the ta at the start. And because the noon has a sukoon on it, the new first letter has noon has a sukoon on it, we need to add an alif. Then we look at the new second to last letter, which is the fa, and the fa has a fatha, therefore the alif we add has a kasra, so it's infal. And the forbidding with la tanfal, so same thing again. If you look at the present tense yanfalu, take the anta version tanfalu, make it lightest, the lam with the dhamma becomes sukoon, and then it's tanfal, and then we drop that alif to make it easier to pronounce, so it's tanfal, and then add the lam in front, so la tanfal. And the zarf, the place and time of action, is munfalun, which is the same as the isme fa'il, which is quite unique for the family 7. And we've explained that as I went along. So look at example for family 7 is taf'ala. So we use the 3 roots ha, wa and ra. So the second root letter is a waw. So past tense will be, and this means to demolish. So past tense fi'l is in hara. So you can see the second root letter waw has been turned into an alif. He was demolished. The present tense fi'l yanharu. He is being demolished. You can see that the second root letter waw has been still an alif, just like the past tense. The masdar in hiyaran. So you can see the second root letter waw has been turned into the ya. In hiyaran, to demolish, and ism fa'il is munharun, the one who's being demolished. So if you just remember from present tense to ism fa'il, just change the ya to a meme and make it heavy because the ism fa'il is an ism, and this is family 7, it doesn't have a passive line including the ism maf'ul. So the commanding form is in har. So if we look at the present tense fi'il is yanharu, so we take the anta version tanharu, then we make it lightest, so the ra, the dhamma takes a sukoon. Tanhar, because it's harder to pronounce, then the alif is dropped, so it's tanhar, and then the ta is dropped at the start, and because the new first letter noon has a sukoon, then we add an alif, and the second to last letter, the ha, the new one, has a fatha, therefore the alif will take a kasra, so it becomes in har, which means you may demolish, and forbidding form is la tanhar. So again, anta version tanharu, make it lightest tanhar, then drop the alif tanhar, and then add the lam at the start, la tanhar. And the zarf is the same as the ism fa'il, munharun, which is the time and place of being demolished. Move on to an example for family 8, which is if ta'ala. So the second root letter is made a waw, so wa or ya. So the first root letter is fa, the second root letter is a wa or ya, and the third root letter is lam. So the past tense is if ta'ala. So you can see how the second root letter has become an alif, yellow highlight. The present tense fi'il is yaftalu. So again the second root letter wa or ya is an alif, yellow highlighted, and the masdar iftiyalan. You can see how the second root letter, if it's a wa or a ya, it becomes a ya in the masdar. Iftiyalan is blue highlighted, and the ism fa'il, the dua, is muftalun. And then switching from present tense to ism fa'il, change the ya to a meme, add a dhamma, and then make it heavy, the lam. And the passive past tense is uftila. Again, you can see that from the past tense, the yellow highlight alif has taken a ya with a sukoon to show the stretch, so uftila. And the passive present tense is yuftalu. So all the harakata at the top, which is classic for passive present tense, the masdar is iftiyalan, and the ism maf'ul muftalun. So it's similar to the passive present, so just change the ya to a meme and then make the lam heavy, muftalun. The commanding is iftal. So if you take a look at the present tense is yaftalu. So if we take the anta version is taftalu. If you make it lightest, the lam, the dhamma on the lam becomes a sukoon, taftal, but because it's harder to pronounce because of the alif, we drop the alif, so it's taftal. Then we drop the ta at the start, and because the new first letter fa has a sukoon on it, then we add an alif, and the new second to last letter is the ta with the fatha, so therefore the alif will take a kasra, so iftal, and the forbidding form is la taftal. So again, if you look at the present tense, the yaftalu, we take the anta version taftalu, we'll make it lightest, so the lam with the dhamma takes a sukoon, And because of the difficult pronunciation, the yellow highlighted alif is dropped, so it's taftal. And then we just add a lam at the start, so la taftal, the forbidding form. And the zarf is muftalun, the same as the ism maf'ul, which is typical for big families. So that we explained as I went along. So example for family 8 is taf'ala, but this time we'll use 3 different root letters. So it's the first one is the kha, the second is the ya, and the third root letter is ra. So this means to choose. So past tense is iqtara, which means he chose. And if you notice that the second root letter ya has become an alif, and the present tense fi'l is yaqtaru, so he is choosing. And the second root letter again, ya has become an alif, and then mastar iqtiyaran, so the second root letter, whether it's wa or ya, it becomes ya in the mastar iqtiyaran, to choose. And ism fa'il, the dua, is mukhtarun, the one who's choosing. So again, the present tense ya turns into a meme with a dhamma, and then make the ra heavy, and that's how you switch from the present tense to the ism fa'il. And if you look at the passive past tense, is uqtira. So if you remember before, because of the past tense as an alif with the ta just after the ta, to make it stretch, we say that we add the ya with the sukoon, so uqtira. And the passive present tense is yuqtaru, so all the harakat at the top with the dhamma at the end and the dhamma at the start. And the mastar is ikhtiyaran, and the ism maf'ul is muqtarun, the one who is chosen, which is the same. You'll notice it's the same as the ism fa'il. So you notice that the ism fa'il and the ism maf'ul is the same. But again, it is context within the sentence or the verse that will determine which one it is, whether it's the ism fa'il or the ism maf'ul. So muqtarun. Again, easy switch between the passive present to the ism maf'ul, change the ya to a meme and then make the ra heavy. And the command form is iqtar, so you may choose. So if you look at the present tense is yaqtaru, take the anta version taqtaru, make it lighter, the ra with the dhamma gets the sukoon. So because it's difficult to pronounce because of the alif next to the ta, we drop that alif, so it becomes taqtar. Then we drop the ta at the start, and the second, because the new first letter kha has a sukoon on it, so we add an alif. The new second to last letter is the ta with the fatha, so the alif, the new alif at the start takes a kasra, so iqtar. So you may choose. And the forbidding form is la taqtar. So again, yaqtaru, take the anta version taqtaru, make it lightest, taqtar, and then we drop the alif to ease of pronunciation, taqtar. Then add a la in front, la taqtar, you may or don't choose. And then the zarf is the same as ism maf'ul, muqtarun, time and place of choosing. So in this case, the zarf, the ism maf'ul, and the ism fa'il are all the same, but again, it's context that will tell you which one it refers to. So if we look at the small families, so Ajwaf only occurs in 3 subfamilies. So it occurs in subfamily 1, which is fa'ala yafulu, in subfamily 2, which is fa'ala yaf'ilu, and subfamily 4, which is fa'ila yaf'alu. So subfamily 1, 2, and 4. So the general rules, which applies to all the 3 subfamilies that we mentioned before, 1, 2, and 4, if the fi'l is in lightest form has dhamma at end, including the commanding or forbidden forms, then the vowel is removed. The past tense follows the pattern fa'ala. The passive past follows pattern fila. The passive present follows, so bear in mind when we say it follows the pattern, for example, the past tense follows the pattern fa'ala. So what we mean by that, when the first root letter is fa, the second root letter is the waw, whether it's wa or ya, and the third root letter is lam. So you can switch those 3 root letters for any other 3 root letters, but that's the template. So the first root letter is fa, the second root letter is wa or ya, and the third root letter is lam. So that's what we mean by pattern. So past tense follows the pattern fa'ala, the passive past follows the pattern fila, the passive present follows the pattern yufalu, which is typical. You can see all the harakat at the top. Ism fa'il follows the pattern fa'ilun, and the ism maf'ul follows the pattern, two different patterns. So when the second ruler is wa, it follows maf'ulun, and when the second ruler is ya, it follows maf'ilun. So that's influence. The ism maf'ul is influenced by which root letter, the second root letter, whether it's wa or ya. And the zarf follows the patterns. So when the second root letter is wa, it's mafalun, and when the second root letter is ya, it's mafilun. And in both, it's mafala tun, because the zarf can have more than one form. And the ismi alatun, it follows the pattern depending on what the second root letter is, whether it's a wa or ya. So if it's a wa, it's mifwalun. But if when the second root letter is ya, it's mifyalun. But you can see in each case that the wa is inside when the second root letter wa, you can see the wa in the mifwalun. And if it's ya, then you can see the ya mifyalun. But there are some family specific rules as well. So in the past and present tense forms, in subfamily 1, which is fa'ala yafulu, the past tense follows the pattern fa'ala, whereas the present tense follows the pattern yafulu. So you can see the wa with the sukoon that's there as well. But in subfamily 2, which is fa'ala yafilu, the past tense follows the pattern fa'ala, which is typical for all of them. But the present tense follows the pattern yafilu. So it's a little bit different from the subfamily 1. So if you look at subfamily 1 present tense, it's yafulu. But whereas the subfamily 2, the present tense is yafilu. One of the ways to remember that is if you look at subfamily 1, it's fa'ala yaf'ulu. So the last letters, the second root letter has a dhamma on it. So it's as if that dhamma becomes a wa with a sukoon in the present tense. So if you remember that, then it's a little bit easier to remember. So fa'ala yaf'ulu. So you can see the ain, the second root letter has a dhamma on it. And so when we have a present tense, it becomes a wa with the sukoon yaf'ulu. But in the subfamily 2, fa'ala yaf'ilu, if you look at the second root letter, the ain has a kasra on it. So therefore, the present tense will follow yafilu. It also makes that kasra sound, filu. Just like yaf'ilu, then the present tense is yafilu. It still makes that e sound. And then you'll notice that here as well in subfamily 4. So it's fa'ila yaf'alu. So the second root letter ain has a fatha. So past tense typical is fa'ala, but the present tense follows the pattern yafalu. So you can see that again, because the present tense in subfamily 4 is yaf'alu normally, is yafalu. So the second root letter ain has a fatha. Then that sound of the fatha sound is maintained in the present tense, yafalu. But in the command form, in subfamily 1, which is fa'ala yafulu, the command form follows the pattern full. And the present tense form yafulu, the wa with the sukoon is dropped for ease of speech. So this is something that I'll explain once we get there. But you can see that from the present tense is yafulu. Then if you drop that wa with the sukoon, then you're left with something similar to full. So it follows the pattern full. And in subfamily 2, which is fa'ala yaf'ilu, the command pattern follows the fil. So present tense form is yafilu. So the ya with the sukoon is dropped with ease of speech. But again, if you look at in subfamily 1, is yaf'ulu. So if you look at the second root letter, the ain has a dhamma on it. Then when you see the command form, when that second root letter becomes a waw or a ya, then the command form becomes full. So it's as if that dhamma is still on the command form full. And same thing with subfamily 2. If you look at the second root letter yaf'ilu, so normally that second root letter ain has a kasra on it. But when that second root letter is replaced with a wa or ya, then the command form follows the pattern fil. So it's as if that kasra from that second root letter ain comes into the command form fil. So you can remember it like that as well. And the same thing with the subfamily 4, fa'ila yaf'ulu, that when the command form follows the pattern fal. So again, you can see that normally yaf'alu, the second root letter ain, has a fatha on it. But when that second root letter, because it's Ajwafun we're talking about, so the second root letter becomes a wa or ya, then as if when the command form is formed, it becomes fal. So it takes that same fatah, just like the yaf'alu. Originally, the second root letter ain has a fatah. So the present tense form, if you remember, is yafalu. So the alif is dropped for ease of speech, so it becomes fal. So we move on to example for subfamily 1. So fa'ala yafulu. So the second root letter is made a vowel, which is either a waw or a ya. So the second root letter is the ain, yeah? So the fa is the first root letter, the second root letter is the wa or ya, and the third root letter is lam. So past tense, as per usual, it's fa'ala. The present tense is yafulu. And if you remember the reason why you have the wa and the sukoon, you can remember that because normally it's fa'ala yaf'ulu, so the second root letter gets a dhamma. So it's as if that dhamma on the second root letter, because it's a wa or a ya now, the second root letter, then we replace that with a wa with the sukoon. That's one way of remembering it. So it's yaf'ulu. And the mustard, again, it's not applicable because with the small families there, mustard has to be looked up. And we're just using, the fa, the wa or ya, and the lam as an example. So ism fa'il is the dua, so it's fa'ilun, so it follows the pattern fa'ilun. The command, the passive past tense follows the pattern fi'la. The present tense is yufalu, so the harakat at the top, as per usual, and the ism maf'ul is maf'ulun. And again, the reason why it's maf'ulun and not maf'ilun is because of that. Because it's subfamily 1 is fa'ala yaf'ulu, so that second root letter, normally the ain has a dhamma on it, so you can look again at the ism maf'ul. So when that second root letter is replaced with a wa or ya, then the wa with the sukoon comes instead, so it becomes maf'ulun. And the command form is just full. So if you look at the present tense is yafulu, so if we take the anta version is tafulu. If we make it lighter, so the dhamma on the lam becomes a sukoon, then the issue is we have two letters in a row with the sukoon, the wa and the lam, so the wa is dropped. So it becomes the full, and then the ta gets dropped at the start, and therefore because the new first letter has a harakat on it, the fa has a dhamma on it, therefore we don't need to add an alif. We only add an alif when the new first letter has a sukoon, so you're just left with full. And the forbidding is la taful, so again yafulu, the present tense, just take the anta version, tafulu, make it lightest, the lam takes a sukoon, because there's two sukoons in a row, get rid of the wa, so it becomes taful, then put the la in front of it, la taful. And the zarf, the place and time, the second root letter is, if the second root letter is y, because mafalun, that's the pattern it follows. If the second root letter is ya, is mafilun, and then in both is mafalatun. And the ismi alatun, which is the tool for doing an action, the second root letter, if the second root letter is y, it becomes mifwalun, so you can see the y is there, and the second root letter is ya, then again the ya is there, mifyalun. An example for using subfamily 1, so the fa'ala yafulu, but this time we use the zal, the wa as the second root letter, and the qaf, which means to taste. So the past tense follows the fa'ala pattern, so is dhaqa, he tasted, and the present tense is yadhuku. So remember because of this is fa'ala yaf'ulu family, because of that dhamma, then you get the yazuku, you get the wa with the sukoon in the present tense. The mustard is dhukan, so if you look that up, to taste. Ism fa'il is dha'ikun, so it's an r-e sound. So normally it's an u-e sound, but you still get the fatha kasra combination with the ism fa'il. So normally it's fa'ilun, now dha'ikun. So you still get the r and the e sound, the one who is tasting. And the passive past tense is dhika, before it was fila. And the passive present tense is yudhaku, so all the harakat at the top. What you do is, the first root letter is the first letter, it takes a dhamma, the last one remains the same, and everything in between gets a fatha except the the sukoon remains the sukoon, but yudhaku, so you can see that the second root letter, the wa just becomes an alif. So masdar is dhukan, and the ismi maf'ul, the thing that's acted on, so the thing that is tasted is mathukun. And again, you can see that there is actually a connection between the present tense and the ismi maf'ul. So normally there's a direct connection between the passive present and the ismi maf'ul, but in this case there's more of a connection between the present tense fi'l and the ismi maf'ul. So if you take the present tense yadhuku, change the ya to a mim, and then make the qaf heavy because the ismi maf'ul is heavy, then yazuku becomes madhukun. So usually the connection is between the passive present and the ismi maf'ul, but in this case, because of the ajwafun, the second root letter being wa, the present tense is connected to the ismi maf'ul. And the commanding form is dhuk. So again, the present tense, take the anta version, tadhuku, make lightest, the qaf takes a sukoon, so there's two sukoons in a row, drop the wa, dhuk, drop the ta, and because the new first letter has a dhamma on it, we don't need to add an alif, so it's just dhuk, which means taste, you may taste. And forbidding form is la tadhuk. So again, tadhuku is the anta version, make it lightest, so it becomes the qaf takes a sukoon, two sukoons in a row, drop the wa, tadhuk, and then add the lam at the front, la tadhuk. Forbidding, so you may or don't taste. The zarf is madhakun, because this is the wa in the second root letter, so it's madhakun, and the second one is madhakatun. The ismi alatun, so the tool for tasting, again because this is the wa in this as a second root letter, is midwakun. If it was ya, it would be midyakun. So there's midwakun. So the subfamily 2, so it's fa'ala yaf'ilu. So if the second root letter is made a vowel, which is wa u ya, so this table just shows the example of the first root letter being fa, the second root letter being wa u ya, and the third root letter being lam. So the past tense as per usual is fa la, but the change is noticed in the present tense is yafilu. And like I said, that if you look at the normal version, fa'ala yafilu, the second root letter ain has a kasra, so it's as if that e sound is maintained even when the second root letter becomes a wa or ya, so you get yafilu. And the mustard, again, you don't have mustard here because this isn't a real word. Ismi fa'il, so fa'ilun, which is normal. A passive past tense is fila as per usual, and passive present tense is yufalu, all the harakat at the top. And the second root letter just becomes an alif, and the ismi maf'ul, the thing that's acted on, is mafilun. So you can see there's a connection between the present tense this time and the ismi maf'ul. So normally I always say there's a connection between the passive present and the ismi maf'ul, but in this case, in this particular irregularity, is the present tense that's connected to the ismi maf'ul. So you just change the yafilu, change the ya to a mim, and then make the lam heavy, mafilun. And the commanding form would be fil. Again, it's connected to that original fa'ala yaf'ilu, that e sound in the second root letter, so it's fil. But if you take a look at the present tense, yafilu, take the anta version, tafilu, make it lightest, the lam with the dhamma takes a sukoon, but then we have two sukoons in a row, the ya and the lam, so we drop the la, so it becomes tafil. Then if we drop the ta, because the new first letter fa has a kasra on it, we don't need to add an alif, so it's fil. So the commanding form is fil, and the forbidding form is la tafil. So again, yafilu, take the anta version, tafilu, make it lightest, the dhamma becomes a sukoon, two sukoons in a row, drop the ya, so it becomes tafil, and then add the lam at the start, la tafil. And the zarf, if the second root letter is a wa, it becomes mafalun. If the second root letter is a ya, it's mafilun, and in both is mafalatun. So you see the tamabuta added to the end. And the ismi alatun, which is the tool for doing the second root letter. If the second root letter was wa, is mifwalun. Otherwise, if it's ya, it's mifyalun. So we'll do an example using subfamily 2, fa'ala yafilu. So we'll be using the ba, the ya, and the ain, which is to sell. So the past tense is ba'a, before it was fa'ala. So you can see the second root letter becomes an alif, ba'a, he sold. The present tense, yabi'u. So that E sound, because of the second root letter being ya, so yabi'u, he is selling. And the masdar bay'an, to sell. And the ism fa'il is ba'i'un, so the R and the E combination, the one who is selling. And the passive past tense is bi'a, just like fila, it was sold, or even he was sold. And the passive present tense is yuba'u, so all the harakat at the top. And the second root letter ya becomes the alif. Masdar bay'an, and then ism maf'ul, the thing that's acted on, is mabi'un, the thing that is sold. And again, there's a connection because of this particular irregularity, connection between the present tense fi'l and the ism maf'ul. Usually the connection is between the passive present and the ism maf'ul. So if you look at the present tense is yabi'u, you just change the ya to a mim and make it heavy. The ain should have a dammatain because the ism maf'ul is an ism, so mabi'un, the thing that is sold. And the commanding form is bi', so you male sell, because if you look at the present tense is yabi'u, take the anta version tabi'u, make it lightest, the ain, the damma on the ain becomes sukoon, 2 sukoons in a row, the ya has a sukoon and the ain has a sukoon, drop the ya, so tabi, then we drop the ta, so the new first letter B already has the kasra on it, so we don't need to add an extra alif, so you're just left with bi, so you may sell. Forbidding form la tabi, so again anta version will be tabi'u, make it lightest, sukoon at the end, 2 sukoons in a row, drop the ya, so it's tabi, and then add the lam at the start, la tabi, you may or don't sell. And the zarf, the place and time of selling, because it's the second root letter is ya, is mabi'un, and the normal is maba'atun, which applies to both, if it's the second root letter is wa or ya. And the ismi alatun is a tool for selling, so it's mibya'un, and this is because the second root letter is ya. If it was wa, it'd be mibwa'un, yeah, so mibya'un. So if you look at subfamily 4, which is fa'ila yaf'alu, so the second root letter, again we'll use the just for understanding purposes or memorizing purposes, we'll use the fa as the first root letter. The second root letter can be wa or ya, and the third root letter is lam. So the past tense is fa'ala as per usual, and then the present tense is where the difference is noticed, yafalu. So like I said, one of the ways to remember it is that if you look at the original fa'ila yaf'alu, the second root letter ain has a fatha on it, so it has the r sound, and it's as if when the second root letter becomes wa or ya, that r sound, the fatha sound, is still maintained, so you get the yafalu. The masdar obviously doesn't apply to this, this just because this is just an example. And ism fa'il is fa'ilun, and the passive past tense is fila, passive present is yufalu, all the harakat at the top. And the ism maf'ul is mafilun, and again a connection between, unusual connection, present tense fi'l to the ism maf'ul, so change the yafalu. Because actually this time around, because of the fatha sound, we don't get the ya, so it's actually yafalu, the present tense, and the ism maf'ul is mafilun, so there isn't a connection this time, or direct connection at least. So the commanding form would be fal. So again, if you look at the present tense, we can figure that out. So yafalu, take the anta version is tafalu, then if we make it lightest, the damma on the lam becomes a sukoon, but because there's an alif after the fa, it's awkward to say tafal. So it's awkward to say, so we drop the alif, so it becomes tafal. Then we just drop the ta at the start, and because the new first letter fa has a fatha on it, we don't need an alif. We only add the extra alif when there's a sukoon there in the first, when the new first letter has a sukoon. So it's fal. The forbidding form is la tafal. So again, if you look at the present tense fi'l yafalu, take the anta version tafalu, make it lightest, so the lam at the end takes a sukoon, so because it's awkward to say, we drop the alif, so it becomes tafal, and then just put the lam at the start, so la tafal. The zarf, when the second root letter is wa, is mafalun, and the second root letter is ya, is mafilun, and in both is mafalatun, which is typical for all of the subfamilies we've done so far. And the ismi alatun, the second root letter, if it's wa, is mifwalun, otherwise the second root letter, if it's ya, it's mifyalun. we've got an example using subfamily 4, so fa'ila yafalu, but this time we'll use the 3 letters noon, ya, and lam, which is to obtain. So past tense is nala, so you can see that the second root letter ya has become an alif, nala, he obtained. Present tense fi'il is yanalu, so that fatha sound is maintained in the present tense, which is typical of the original fa'ila yaf'alu, the fatha sound is maintained, so yanalu, he is obtaining. And the masdar is nailan, so if you look up in the dictionary, it's nailan, to obtain. And the ism fa'il usually is fa'ilun, so it's na'ilun, the one who is obtaining. And the passive past tense is nila, so if you remember before it was fila, so it's nila, it was obtained, or even he was obtained. And the passive present tense is yunalu, so all the harakat at the top. And the second root letter is an alif. And the masdar is nailan, to obtain. And ism maf'ul, the thing acted on, is manilun, so the thing that is obtained. And the commanding form is just null. So if we look at the present tense, yanalu, take the anta version, tanalu, make it lightest, the dhamma on the lam becomes a sukoon. It's awkward to say it's tanal, so we drop the alif, so it's tanal, and then we drop the ta, and the new first letter noon has a fatha on it, so we don't need to add an extra alif, so it just becomes null, which means you may obtain. Just as a reminder, the commanding form and forbidding forms in these charts refers to the anta, you masculine version. So if you want the other versions, then you have to adjust the word appropriately, which is something that we've discussed in detail in the chapter discussing commanding and forbidding forms. So the forbidding form is la tanal, so you may or don't obtain. So again, if we just look at the present tense, yanalu, so we just change take the anta version, so tanalu, make it lightest, the lam takes a sukoon, then we drop the alif to make it sound smooth, so it becomes tanal, and then add the lam at the front, la tanal, you may or don't obtain. Then the zarf is, because the second root letter is ya, so it's manilun, and the normal one is manalatun, which would apply to both if the second root letter was ba or ya. And the ismi alatun, which is the tool for obtaining, is min yalun, because the second root letter is ya. If it was wa, it would be min walun. So move on to some other changes that occur in the subfamilies. So in the past tense, so when we look at the past tense, which is, if you remember, before I started discussing about that, we're looking at the past tense chart we're talking about. So if we look at the pronouns like the huwa, the huma, the hum, the hiya, but the past tense version, so we're looking at this chart and assessing the changes that occur in the subfamily. So in past tense, in hunna onwards, the vowel is dropped and replaced by a harakat. If it is from subfamily 1, which is fa'ala yafulu, the harakat is dhamma, because you can see that the second root letter, normal second root letter, in this case the ain has a dhamma on it, but remember that second root letter in this irregularity is swapped for a wa or a ya. So harakat is a dhamma. In all the other subfamilies, the harakat is kasra. So this is hunna, including hunna and onwards. So just an example, so we make this clear. The subfamily 1, this is the past tense chart, so it's the fa'ala yaf'ulu. So the second root letter is made a vowel, so it's a wa or ya. So the first root letter is fa, the second root letter is wa or ya, and the third root letter is lam. So huwa will be fa'ala. So this is past tense. Huma is fa'ala. Hum is fa'lu. So far it does follow the normal past tense chart that we learned, the template. Hiya is fa'alat. Huma is fa'alata. But it's hunna, this becomes fulna. And this is because it's the subfamily 1, the fa'ala yaf'ulu. Therefore, the first root letter fa takes a dhamma. But in all the other subfamilies, the first root letter will take a kasra. So it's fulna, and then the full remains till the end of the chart. So anta is full ta, which means you masculine. Antuma is full tuma. Antum is full tum. Anti is full ti. You feminine. Antuma is full tuma. Antuna, all of you women, full tunna. And then I, ana, full tu. and nahnu, we, full, na. And then now we'll show an example for the past tense, subfamily fa'ala yaf'ulu, but this time we'll swap the three root letters. The first will be the da, the second will be wa, and the third will be qaf, and this means to taste. So this is a past tense chart, remember? So huwa is dhaqa, meaning he tasted. Dual is huma, dhaqa, both of them tasted, men, masculine. Hum, they tasted, dhaku. So meaning if you remember, the hum includes a group of males and females. Hiya dhaqat, so she tasted. Huma dhaqata, so both of them women tasted. And hunna, so those women or they women tasted. Dhukna, and then from now on, because this is the subfamily 1, the first root letter, the dha, takes a dhamma. Then it's dhukna, and then from then on it will always be the dhuk. And so anta, you man tasted. Dhukta, antuma, dhuktuma, both of you tasted, men. Antum dhuktum, so all of you tasted, which includes a group of males and females. Anti, you woman tasted. Dhukti, antuma dhuktuma, both of you tasted, women. And antunna dhuktunna, all of you women tasted. Ana dhuktu, I tasted. Nahnu dhukna, we tasted. But now if we look at the subfamily 2, the past tense chart, so fa'ala yaf'ilu, so this time we'll replace the root letters will be, the first one will be fa, the second will be wa or ya, and the third will be lam. So the huwa is fa'ala, the dual huma is fa'ala, hum is fa'alu, just like the subfamily 1, hiya fa'alat, huma fa'alata, and then the difference is from hunna onwards we notice that the first root letter fa has a kasra on it now, and this is what happens for subfamily 2 all the way to subfamily 6. Only subfamily 1, the first root letter fa will take a dhamma. So it's filna, anta filta, antuma filtuma, antum filtum, anti filti, antuma filtuma, antunna filtunna, ana filtu, and nahnu filna. And just an example for subfamily 2, fa'ala yafilu, but this time the three root letters will be the ba, the ya, and the ain. This means to sell. So huwa ba'a, meaning he sold, and then ba'a, both of them men sold. Hum ba'u, they sold. Hiya ba'at, she sold. Huma ba'ata, both of them women sold. And then if you remember, because this is subfamily 2, the first root letter from hunna onwards takes a kasra, so the ba takes a kasra. Bitna, they sold. Anta bitta, you sold, man. Antuma bittuma, both of you men sold. And untum bittum, all of you sold, which includes males and females. Anti, you woman sold. Bitti, antuma bittuma, both of you sold. And antunna bittunna, all of you women sold. Ana bittu, I sold. Nahnu bitna, we sold. We'll look at subfamily 4 as well, the past tense chart, which is fa'ila yaf'alu. So the second root letter is made a wa or a ya, so meaning the first root letter will be fa, the second root letter will be wa or ya, and the third root letter will be lam. So singular huwa version is fa'ala, huma is fa'ala, hum is fa'lu, hiya is fa'alat, huma is fa'alata, and then hunna again is filna, because remember subfamily 2 all the way to 6, the first root letter hunna onwards takes a kasra. Only for subfamily 1, the first root letter will take a dhamma. And then that kasra is maintained throughout the chart. So anta filta, antuma filtuma, antum filtum, anti filti, antuma filtuma, antunna filtunna, ana filtu, and nahnu filna. And just as an example, for past tense subfamily 4, fa'ila yafalu, this time we'll use noon, ya, and lam, which means to obtain. So huwa version is na la, he obtained. Huma na la, both of the men obtained. Hum they na lu, they obtained. Hiya na lat, she obtained. Huma na lata, both of them women obtained. And then hunna, remember the first root letter noon gets a kasra, so nil na, they obtained, meaning the women. Anta, you masculine obtained. Nilta, antuma niltuma, both of you men obtained. Antum niltum, all of you obtained, including men and women. Anti nilti, you women obtained. Antuma niltuma, both of you women obtained. and antunna, niltunna, so all of you. Women obtained, ana niltu, I obtained, nahnu, we obtained, nilna. Okay, if you move on to the present tense, so the hunna and the antunna versions only, for only these two versions, hunna and antunna, the versions only, vowel is dropped and replaced by a harakat. Now the harakat is the same as the vowel which is removed from the huwa version. So for example, if the waw is removed, the huwa is you fulu, that's the huwa version. Therefore the harakat that goes on the hunna or the antunna version will be a dhamma. If it's a ya is removed, the huwa version is ya filu, and therefore the harakat on the hunna and the antunna version will take a kasra. And if it's alif is removed, the huwa version is ya falu, the harakat on the hunna and antunna version will be a fata. So you can see that the wa usually is connected to dhamma, the ya is connected to kasra, and the alif is connected to fata. So it kind of, those sounds are connected to one another. So just to explain that with an example, the subfamily 1, the present tense. So this time we're looking at present tense. So it's fa'ala yafulu. The second root letter is made a waw. So the first root letter is fa. The second root letter will be wa or ya. And the third root letter is lam. So this is the present tense. So huwa is yafulu. So you can see that the huwa version, the second root letter is the wa with the sukoon on it. So yafulu is highlighted in blue. Huma is yafulani, huma is yafuluna, hiya is tafulu, huma is tafulani, and then the hunna version, you can see that the first root letter fa will take the same harakat as the huwa version. In the huwa version, the second root letter. So the second root letter is a waw in this example, and it's highlighted in blue in the huwa version. Therefore, in the hunna version, the first root letter fa will take a dhamma. If that second root letter in the huwa version was ya, then in the hunna version, the first root letter fa will take a kasra. But whereas if that in the huwa version, that second root letter was shown as an alif, then the hunna version, the first root letter fa will take a fatah. But in this case, because it's a wa with a sukoon, therefore the hunna version will take the first root letter fa will take a dhamma. So it's ya fulna, and then the anta version will be tafulu. If you remember, the hiya and the anta version in the present tense is identical, it's the same thing, and the context determines which one it is. Antuma is tafulani, which again is, if you look, the huma version, the antum version, antuma version, and the antuma version, all of them are identical, but again it's the context that will tell you which one it is. Antum tafuluna, anti tafulina, antuma tafulani, and then antunna again tafulna. So the first root letter fa gets the dhamma, ana afulu and nahnu nafulu. So you can see that the only difference in this chart compared to a typical present tense chart is just the huwa version and the hunna and the antunna version that you need to keep an eye on. I explained that as we went along. So an example for present tense subfamily 1, fa'ala yafulu, by using the three root letters, the da, the wa, and the qaf, which is to taste. So the huwa version is yadhuku, which means he tastes. Huma yadhukani, both of them are tasting men. Hum yadhukuna, they are tasting. Hiya is tadhuku, she tastes. Huma tadhukani, both of them are tasting. Women. Hunna yadhukna. So if you remember, the first root letter, the dha, is taking a dhamma, because if we look at the huwa version, you see a wa with a sukoon. So that wa with a sukoon, because of that, we will put in the hunna version, on the first root letter, we'll put a dhamma. Ya dhukna. They are tasting. Women. So anta, you, man, are taste. Tadhuku and antuma tadhukani, both of you are tasting. Men, antum tadhukuna, all of you are tasting. Anti, you, feminine, so you taste. You are tasting. Tadhukina, antuma tadhukani, both of you are tasting. Women, antunna, Tadukna, all of you are tasting, women. And again, the first root letter, the da, has a dhamma on it because of the huwa version. The fa, the wa and the sukoon turns into a dhamma in this case for the hunna and antunna version on the first root letter, dal. Ana adhuku, I am tasting. Nahnu nadhuku, we are tasting. So moving on to subfamily 2 in the present tense. So it's fa'ala, yaf'ilu. Then we'll use the 3 root letters. The first is the fa, the second is wa or ya, and the third is the lam. So in the huwa version is yafilu, which is blue highlight. You can see that's the difference, yafilu. And the huma is yafilani, hum yafiluna, hiya istafilu, and huma istafilani, and hunna is yafilna. So if you remember, when we look at the huwa version, because it's got the ya with the sukoon, then the first root letter fa will take a kasra for hunna and antunna. Or the other way of remembering it is if you look at yafilu, which is the huwa version, if you want to turn that to the hunna version, then you make the last letter sukoon, which is a lam, turn that into a sukoon, then add noon and a fatah. But because there's 2 sukoons in a row, the ya has a sukoon and the lam has a sukoon, then we drop the ya, becomes yafil now. That's the other way of remembering it. Anta istafilu, antuma istafilani, antum istafiluna, anti istafilina, antuma istafilani, and antunna again tafilna. And ana is afilu, and nahnu is nafilu. And this is what I explained as we went through. And just an example for the present tense, subfamily 2, fa'ala yafilu, we will use 3 different root letters. The first is ba, the second is ya, and the third is ain. This means to sell. So huwa is yabi'u, so he is selling. Huma yabi'ani, both of them men are selling. Hum yabi'una, they are selling, including men and women. Hiya tabi'u, she is selling. Huma tabi'ani, both of them women are selling. Hunna yabi'na, they are women selling. So again, if you look at the huwa version, because there's a ya with a sukoon there, therefore the first root letter in the hunna version, the ba takes a kasra. Or the other way of remembering it is huwa yabi'u. If we want to make the turn that into the hunna version, just make the last letter, the ain, a sukoon, put a noon fatah at the end. Because there's 2 letters with a sukoon now, the ya and the ain, then we drop the ya, it becomes yabitna. So anta is tabi'u, which is the same as the hiya version. Remember, you look at context in order to determine which one it is. Anta, you, masculine man, are selling. Antuma tabi'ani, both of you men are selling. Antum tabi'una, all of you people are selling, a group of women and men. Anti tabi'ina, you are selling women. Antuma tabi'ani, both of you are selling females. And antunna tabi'na, so all of you women are selling. Ana abi'u, I am selling. Nahnu nabi'u, we are selling. So we move on to subfamily 4 with the present tense chart. So we'll use fa'ila, this is the fa'ila yaf'alu. So we'll use the 3 root letters. The first one is the fa, the second is the wa or ya, and the third is lam. So you see in the huwa version, because this is a fa'ila yaf'alu family, because remember the second root letter, the ain, has a fatah on it. So when it's that second root letter ain is replaced with wa or ya, because this family, the second root letter takes a fatah, it turns into an alif. So the huwa is yafalu, huma is yafalani, hum is yafaluna, hiya is tafalu, huma is tafalani, and then the hunna, because in the huwa version, the second root letter takes the form of the alif, therefore the first root letter fa takes a fatah, so ya falna. Otherwise you could, the other way of remembering it is the huwa version. If you want to turn it to the hunna version, then we just make the last letter sukoon, the lam takes a sukoon, then add a noon fatah at the end. But because it's hard to pronounce because of the alif, because it's yafalna, so it's hard to pronounce, so we get rid of the alif, so it becomes yafalna. So anta tafalu, which is the same as here. Antuma tafalani, antum tafaluna, anti tafalina, antuma tafalani, and antunna tafalna. And ana afalu, and nahnu nafalu. And this is something we explained as we went along. So example for present tense subfamily 4, fa'ila yafalu. This time we'll use the three root letters na, noon, ya and lam, which means to obtain. So the huwa is yanalu, he is obtaining. Huma yanalani, both of them men are obtaining. Hum yanaluna, they are obtaining, meaning men and women. Hiya tanalu, she is obtaining, and huma tanalani, both of them women are obtaining. Hunna, so yanalna, so they women are obtaining. So if you look at the huwa version, because the second root letter comes in the form of the alif, therefore the first root letter, the noon on the hunna version, takes a fatah. Or the other way, if you look at the huwa version, the yanalu, if you want to turn that into the hunna version, just change the last letter, the lam, give it a sukoon and add a noon fatah at the end. Because it's hard to pronounce because of the alif is dropped, so it becomes yanalna. So anta, you are obtaining, masculine tanalu, and antuma tanalani, both of you men are obtaining. Antum tanaluna, all of you are obtaining, so men and women included. Anti tanalina, you woman is obtaining or are obtaining. And antuma tanalani, both of you are obtaining, women. Antumna tanalna, so all of you women are obtaining. And then the ana is analu, I am obtaining, and nahnu nanalu, we are obtaining. So we move on to the ism tafdil, which if you remember is the comparative and is connected to the superlative. So the vowel behaves normally. So if it's the wa, when the second letter is vowel, the vowel appears as a wa, and if it's the second root letter is ya, then the vowel appears as a ya. So some examples here: if the root letter is fa, wa, and lam, then we'll just put it into the ism tafdil normally, afwalu. And if the root letters were fa, ya, la, then it will be afyalu. So the normal pattern follows. In the ism sifa, which is an adjective for permanent qualities, it normally follows the pattern fa'ilun. So when the ya, in the fa'ilun, which is highlighted yellow, meets another vowel, which is wa or ya, the two merge, and the ya takes a shadda and a kasra from the original second root letter, which was replaced with a vowel. So if you take a look at the green highlighted, then what we've done is the first root letter is fa, the second root letter in the first word, which is fa'ilun. So the first root letter is fa, the second root letter is ya, which is green highlighted, and the third root letter is lam. So you can see the ya, the second root letter ya, which is highlighted in green, meets the ya with the sukoon, which is naturally in the pattern fa'ilun. So it becomes fa'ilun. And then in the second case, if the second root letter was wa, which is highlighted in green, then again we get fa'ilun. And so what happens is, in this case, the two vowels, so the two yas, the ya and the ya, the second root letter ya with the ya sukoon that's already part of the word, they merge together to form a ya with a shadda, and it takes a kasra. Because if you notice, if you look at the green highlight, the second root letter, the ya has a kasra on it, and in the case of the wa, it has a kasra on it. So when the two merge together, the ya takes a shadda with the kasra. So here's an example. So if the root letters were fa, wala, then normally it would be we would say it's fa'ilun, and that becomes fa'ilun. So that you can see how the wa and the ya have merged into a ya with a shadda, and because the wa has a kasra on it, the ya with the shadda takes a kasra. So fa'ilun becomes the ism sifa. But if the root letters were fa, ya, and lam, then it is fa'ilun, and so that becomes, the two yas will merge. It will take a shadda, and the reason it takes a kasra is because the second root letter ya has a kasra on it. So therefore the shadda takes a kasra, it becomes fa'ilun instead, the ism sifa. And as per usual, at the end of every chapter, we always advise you to look over the vocabulary list chapter at the end of this book. Ideally at the end of every session this curriculum is studied, so that your Arabic grammar knowledge increases with your vocab knowledge, inshallah.